Greetings and welcome to the Halocast. I'm Brad Barker, your host. Please join us each episode as we explore all of the tech, trends, and personalities that keep us safe and help get us better prepared for what's next. Well, welcome home. What time is it for you?
I don't have a time zone. I'm traveling so much these days, I'm not on a time zone. In fact, I just got back from Europe, missed 2 nights sleep over in the UK. In about 2 weeks, I head back to Munich to teach for 7 days straight.
So in order, what were you doing in the UK? Were you with a regiment or with Scotland Yard or what was going on?
Every year we go back and we do a spear system intensive course, and we had over 40 trainers from all over, mostly the UK, but several other countries flew guys in, and that was our main purpose. And we had our other a personal defense instructor coaches course down in central London, and so we were at an army barracks up near Oxford for the 40-hour spear course, and then our PDR, personal defense readiness coaches course, was down in central London. So that was 7-day whirlwind there. So
tell me about this manual that you guys are in as official curriculum. How did you scope that out, and how did you get approved, being number one, an American, and worse, a Canuck?
So yeah, I think it was like 1991, I was teaching at, do you remember ASLET, American Society of Law Enforcement? So when ASLET was around, I was teaching it, and this trainer, Dave Peebles, very, very passionate trainer, came up to me and said, "I'm going to get you in the UK." I said, "Okay, cool." He did. He set up a course. He was a police officer for Lancashire Constabulary, and we went over there, and they're one of the big training areas, and there's 41 or 43 constabularies that in the UK. Each one of them does their own training, but it's a federal manual, and it's controlled by ACPO, the Association of Chiefs of Police, really influenced by, the Met Police and one of the biggest police agencies in the world. And we had an incredible feedback because nobody, Brad, as you know, we've talked many times, nobody really addresses that holy shit moment inside the reactionary gap when there's an ambush. And the police officers in the UK, of course, most don't carry guns. The ones that do are called reactively after an incident. So that armed response, team that comes in, something's already happened. So it's the difference between being like a swim coach, lifeguard, right? Over a series of years, we had 37 of the 43 constabularies teaching the spear system because they believed in it so much. It wasn't officially approved. It took this guy, Dave Peebles, with a couple of other police officers, 8 years of not research, but it was knocking on the door, putting presentations, because it was a whole committee that was determined. And you know this. I mean, I love the Brits, but they're very specific about what time tea time is, and when this is going to happen, and when that, even more so than, let's say, some of the federal agencies here. And so that was a kind of interesting experience. I mean, I would get calls, lovingly, I'd get calls, about medical research and liability feedback and research. And I'd be on the phone because I didn't care, and I didn't do this. It wasn't changing. Like me getting in the ACPO manual and the spear recognized by brand and by research didn't change my bottom line. There was no financial benefit to it, So, Dave would call me up and say, they want to know this. And I'd be on the phone and be like, Dave, I don't care. They want to know the medical implications of the spear. How about this? You get your ass kicked because you didn't learn the spear. That's the medical implication, right? And he'd laugh. He'd go, "Hey, don't shoot the messenger." I said, "I love you, bro. I just can't believe what you're doing. It's been now 5 years, 6 years, 7 years." Finally, it was approved after 8 years, and in fairness, it was just an entire continent with well-known trainers all over looking at stuff and people trying to get in there. And we did an amazing thing and I brag about this in the most humble way. They recognized the presentation was so significant that they recognized it as Spear. In this manual, it actually says, this piece is contribution by Tony Blauer. It's used by permission, and they use the acronym, and we help them with the pictures. We help them do the rewrites in it, and every cop in the UK, including now the it has, because we do our gunfighting stuff, we have our assaulter stuff, we have our counter ambush stuff, and that's like a lot of under the radar. It's not on my website. We don't market that, but so the Royal Protection, their PSD, some of the a lot of the research, the startle, flinch, convert research has made its way into those other fields, which is kind of exciting too.
So, okay. Bragging with humility. I think you're the only one who can do that.
I don't even know that. Can you even say that?
I think that just sort of nullifies itself. It's like an immovable object that gets hit by an unstoppable force.
I like that.
So how often are you back to the UK now? Because I've been chasing you around the planet for like 6 weeks trying to hook up on what we're doing at the summit, and I want to do this kind of stuff.
Thought I owed you money, man. I just wasn't returning your call, bro. I'm sorry.
You don't owe me any money, and we'll segue into that because we've got your video series in the Halo store now. I don't know if you've seen that, but I want to kind of talk a little bit about that. You're obviously bouncing around planet Earth. I know that you've gone down under with the Aussies. I know that you've been all over Europe. You're doing Munich here in a couple weeks. Eventually, we're going to get you training some folks at the Halo Summit, over Halloween here, this fall. And there's a bunch of stuff that you're doing online, and now you got this video series out. Now, that's kind of, this media thing's a bit of a new frontier. Is that working? What's the plan there, and what's in the video series?
We put together, we were doing a lot of work in Wisconsin, which was originally a tough crowd because it was, a very heavy PPCT foundation, and we did some work with, I think it was Northeast Technical, big nationally, rated police training university camp. And we okay? It's still coming through okay? Okay. And so we were doing this work with NWTC, and what happened was they, like other people, when they finally realized that the Spear system is a bridge to your next move, you have to weather the ambush. If you don't weather the ambush, you can't get to a complex motor skill. So whether it's PPCT or Thai boxing or jiu-jitsu or ninjutsu or whatever, it doesn't matter. So one of our mottos is, if you're scared shitless, unconscious, or dead, whatever's in your toolbox is irrelevant.
So there's a hierarchy there. Scared shitless, unconscious, or dead.
You can't do whatever you said you were going to do when you and I were talking about, hey, if the guy does this, I'll do that.
I'll get in a horse stance and blade.
You and I, have a fun banter, but in respect for all the martial artists and combatives guys out there, everything works. Everything works if the universe unfolds on your behalf. Every fight can be effectively controlled, the bad guy neutralized, stymied by good skill. But you have to have the skill, you have to have the awareness, you got to be facing the threat. What we've done is we've created just this niche that just said all those things are good. It's like arguing about bullets and guns. And I remember a guy coming in, and he was being a bit of a dick at my office years ago in Montreal, and he goes, "Well, do you teach gun defense?" And we're in Canada in Montreal, right? So I go, what? He goes, "Well, if I had a gun and I pulled it on you," and I said, "Well, what kind of gun?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Well, do you have one? Show me the gun we're talking about." He says, "Well, I don't have one. I'm just asking." I said, "Then shut the fuck up," right? It was just he was just so trying to, stump the band with. And so if I circle that back to this, is a lot of people think that when I say, if you're scared shitless, unconscious, or dead, that I'm putting down what they do. And I want to make that perfectly clear here, that if you don't get to what you practice, then it wasn't good. And the context is understanding and reverse engineering what we're talking about. We're talking about purely an ambush, a jack-in-the-box moment. When you look at an officer, an agent, someone in the military, that at close quarters lost their fight. They either weren't prepared for the opponent they faced, or they were ambushed. And if you're ambushed, your physiological, the limbic, the amygdala, the reactive brain do things that take you away from your weapon system, your front sight, your complex motor skill. This is neurosciences. So, coming back to the videos, geography and economics prevents people from training with me and my team. A lot of people, we just can't get to it. So I got asked years ago, can you put some of the stuff on DVD? I was leery and reticent to do it, but with my relationship with NWTC, what they did was they took high def, they mic'd me, and we filmed a bunch of lectures all on the spear system, and then we did something that I, we did a block on kind of a gunfighting block, an operator block, and a bunch of the spear drills, and then I think there were 2 DVDs, just because it was like 3, 4, 5 hours worth of just me lecturing the origin, the rationale, the science. Because if you understand it, I like to make this distinction. Everyone in our community is a subject matter expert. Everyone's an SME. And I lovingly, say, hey, an expert's someone who's memorized someone else's material. If you're going to coach yourself through a violent altercation, if you're going to mentor somebody because you're responsible for enhancing survivability, so you might have somebody like listening to this who's way up in management going, I don't fight and I don't teach fighting, but that person might have some oversight over putting somebody in harm's way. And I believe everyone's got a moral and legal obligation to make sure that person is completely prepared. So we put out this, basically, how do you apply this research on startle, flinch, convert to empty hand personal defense, and then long gun and handgun, a gunfighting block, and then a more tactical approach. So it's kind of like covers the gamut of how I might use this physiological research, if my skill and my needs took me to different arenas, different AOs.
So a couple of years ago, I think, 2010, you did some stuff with us as part of our bi-coastal counterterrorism seminar series. We did the W together, and most of that was not some of that more kinetic stuff. It was all mindset. So to your point, you have to survive the initial jack-in-the-box moment so that you can use your training. If you can't, cope with the initial stress, the auditory exclusion, the tunnel vision, the oh shit moment, so that you can use your training that you spent years getting a black belt in. Is that where this all begins, or is this more for the advanced practitioner so that they can start to apply some of the stuff?
Like to be sure, first of all, probably everybody watching this owns a gun. Maybe they're not a great shooter, a combat shooter, but most everybody in the professional protective community, has a weapon, and they probably should and could shoot it more than they do. So there's one of the tapes on like the volumes on the spear and its origin applies to everybody. So a gun tape, which I think applies to everybody. The only one that wouldn't would be the operator, which is crowd penetration and how to strike off of ambidextrous movement, because in a real fight you can't control what side the bad guy's on, and so I would look at that as a bit more advanced. But why not see it and know it? I mean, understanding how to move through a crowd really quickly. A firefighter applies to a cop, applies to security, or just, I mean, I would use it. God forbid, I was in a building, a restaurant that caught on fire. I'm spearing my way out, right? I'm not zigzagging and serpentine. I'm going, well, there's an exit, and I'm coming straight through that. So I think it's there. There's an application for everybody, but it's 6 degrees of separation. Everybody who's going to watch this knows somebody who knows somebody that needs that.
Right. So you're taking a lot of the human physiology, a lot of the psychokinetic stuff, and a lot of what I don't know, at this summit here in 2012, most of it's going to be steeped in a lot of the hyper-realistic training, the stress inoculation, all of that, pre-incident immersion and experiential training, so that people, when they do go downrange and they do have an oh shit moment, they're like, okay, this isn't the first time. This isn't my first rodeo. I know what to do. So when we first started training with you, we were doing warrior mindset stuff, and you've got all that. You've got all that research. You've got all that empirical data. Some of it is semi-autobiographical, first-person stuff from you when you were a kid and how you didn't want to get sand kicked in your face anymore. And now you've got, technology's advanced. So now you've got Blauer in a box, so to speak. I mean, one of the things that you and I have joked about over the years is that, you can't clone yourself, and you want to be everywhere. Clearly, you're in demand. Otherwise, you wouldn't be bouncing around the planet doing all this PDR stuff and some of the essential training, because everybody wants Tony. A lot of people will get your right and left hand henchmen, but everybody wants Tony. So this is a way for you to address that. Is there enough of these out there that you're getting feedback that there's efficacy, there's quantifiable students that have advanced?
As far as the video?
As far as the video, is it working?
The videos are very sharp, so you should throw them like ninja. And
well, you called them tapes. You called them tapes earlier, so I didn't know if I had to go to the Smithsonian to get it.
Yeah, that's how old I am. Yeah, DVDs. They're DVDs. So, no, listen. It blows my mind. I get people that'll email and say, hey, this incident happened, and I use that drill, and their only experience with me is through DVD. It's funny and it's ironic, but you look at it. Years ago, I forget who it was. I just attributed to someone in the Roman army, Roman legion. But I say, there's a maxim we always use. I'm trying to remember now, but I can't remember who. But it was training should be like a bloodless battle, so the battle's just like bloody training. And we always did that. And so the martial arts world 20, 30 years ago would look at, let's say, a picture, video, and how noisy is that? Okay, here's where it was. So we would get like criticisms from the traditional fighting community saying that we looked like we were off balance. We didn't look like we were finessed, because what we were doing is we were reverse engineering every drill. We were saying, if action's faster than reaction, then how can you practice any move that says, when he does a lapel grab, I'll do this. When he gets me in a headlock, I'll do this. If he gets me in a choke, I'll do this. If he grabs my gun, I'll do this. Because if you just create a simple visual matrix that blends velocity, impact, mass, speed, the physics of an assault attack coming in, all practiced in a vacuum in the mat room, in the dojo, in the combatives room, but action's faster than reaction. In an ambush, the bad guy's act. So if you practice from a headlock or from a tackle or practicing, this is how I get out of this, that doesn't make sense when you put that in real time and you start with the bad guy moving on you. That doesn't even account in training for the emotional, psychological disruption of you realizing, oh, fuck, I'm getting attacked. And so that's slow shit down too, right? People screw up shit because of performance anxiety. Well, if I got pressure and someone goes, you're ready, you're up next, and I'm going, hold on, I'm not ready. I mean, in an ambush, you can't say, hold on, I'm not ready. So that adds to your reaction time. So, we have a simple model. God, why is this guy vacuuming right now? Okay, cool. So, we've had really positive feedback from the DVDs. Again, what's the choice? If you're interested in what we do, and it is something, it's a philosophical and tactical approach to training that really isn't completely understood, even 30 years, 20 years after we put it out there in article, in magazine, and DVD. I remember, and here's one of my favorite stories about value and cost versus value. How much that cost? And I remember teaching this multi-jurisdictional course in Texas, and I had this DVD called Ground Fighting versus an Armed Assailant, and it was all fighting on the ground with a gun. The bad guy has the gun or a knife, and how do you grapple? Because the moves are different. It's not technical, Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling if he's got a gun or a knife. There's piece of equipment that can totally change everything in the equation. And so Brad, true story, he looks at the DVD and he goes, how much is this? And it was $25. And he goes, 25, eh? He says, yeah, I'll call the office tomorrow and see if I can get a purchase order for it. And I said, hold on a sec. I said, are you serious? You're going to go through all that trouble to send in a memo to, get some justification for $25. You're here with 5 other guys and 5 other people. So there's 25 people in this multi-jurisdictional. I said, just each chip in $5. Have one less Starbucks. Have one less drink. I said, this is ground fighting versus armed assailant. It's a gutter fight. And he kind of looks at me and, it was almost like a deer in the headlights moment, but I was blown away by how it occurred to him. If there are 3 people sitting at a table and I said, one of you is going to get ambushed tonight and get put in a coma because you don't have tactical awareness or startle flinch conversion, you don't know how to convert emotionally, psychologically, get back in a fight. One of the guys at the table, nobody's going to go, I wonder if that's going to be me. People go, I wonder if it's him, wonder if it's him. In other words, the joke being is we don't see it as us being that target or that victim. And I just say, listen, I don't have a fire extinguisher in my house hoping my house catches on fire. I have a fire extinguisher in my house, God forbid. I don't take a CPR course or my learn CPR isn't based on how many people have choked or died in front of me at restaurants. I'm not going to take that Heimlich phase there. I've never seen anyone choke. I'm not waiting for. So people seem to wait. Oh yeah, that could happen to me, and it's ridiculous. It's just let's get proactive about our survivability.
That sounds like some of the national security policies that exist here domestically. Let's wait until we get hit before we invest in any level of defense.
It's sort of I don't want to say North American way and generalize, but it's like 2 things happen. When public tragedies happen, typically what you see is a knee-jerk reaction. So you have a 9/11, and then everything goes into airline protection, or you have like a smaller catastrophe where people go, "What really happened here?" And you go, that might have been like a lack of awareness. Memo, we're not training properly, and so it gets kind of swept on, and people are just honored, and life in the line of duty, and I get all that, but we need to look at stuff and go, look, if some days you're the bug and some days you're the windshield. If this was just one of those collisions and that happened, fine, but if it was we weren't training intelligently. My litmus test is this. This pisses people off, but it's so fucking true. The litmus test is this. It's a helmet cam. It's a dashboard video. It's CCTV. When you see a bad guy attacking a good guy, do you ever see a good guy doing anything that was ever taught inside a defensive tactics room? Yes. No. That's the litmus test. So it's not like Tony trying to sell a DVD or Tony trying to get you to a course. But you look at our drills, and they look like those dashboard videos, those helmet cams, because we're saying the most important person in the fight is the bad guy. Bad guy tells you the level of force. The bad guy influences the location, and the bad guy influences the length of the fight, the duration of the fight. And so when I ask people in a course, I go, "Who controls the fight?" People are like, "We do. I go, "No. Who controls the location?" The bad guy. Okay. Who controls the level of violence? The bad guy, right? If he's killed somebody and you come in there guns out and he's standing there with his hands up with no weapon, for the most part, legally, like threat discrimination, he's a no-shoot, even though he's a murder. And if you need to fight, who controls the length of the fight? And people go, "We do." I go, "No, you don't." How psychotic, how tough the guy is, how far he's willing to take it. He's the Black Knight in the Holy Grail. You cut off his arms and he swings again. You cut up his other arm, he's hopping there going, come at, what are you going to bleed on me? So that's the thing that people don't realize, and I come back to this just to reemphasize it for people listening. Don't listen to me. Go to a dashboard library, close your eyes, pick any 10 tapes, pull it, Yes, it's got to be a bad guy really trying to hurt a cop or a military personnel or someone on PSD, really moving at them, and watch the movement. The movement has nothing to do with what they were taught, you know. So the initial first few seconds are the most critical. How do you weather the ambush? Come back to full circle. If you're scared shitless, unconscious or dead, you're not getting to move XYZ from, you know, chapter 2 in the XYZ manual.
I'm into it. I've only seen snippets of the DVD, so I want to check it out with you. And we've got it in the Halo store now. So anybody who's reading The Harbinger or listening to this podcast or checking out any of our blogs, our YouTube channel, or any of the stuff that we're putting out there, they'll be able to check it out there on the Halo store. The description of what the DVD entails you wrote, but this is obviously a much more comprehensive explanation on not only your training, but how you're trying to put that into a mobile format so that not everybody has to fly to the Halo Summit or, you know, Blauer training because of the financial or geographic challenges you mentioned. I want to ask, last week, what the hell happened to Vitor? Is he done? I mean, that was heartbreaking because that guy, I mean, he was in San Diego training for some time with some of the Carlson Gracie guys and Rodrigo Medeiros, and I got a chance to hang out with that guy. And I lost a lot of money on that fight. And that sucked because I wanted Vitor to win. What's going on?
I just think that, you know, his opponent is I mean, you got to, you know, it's like watching two really good football teams. You know, you bet on your favorite team and then. So, you know, it's nothing. Like, everyone has a plan until they get hit, right? That's that famous, you know, Joe Louis line. And then they said Tyson said it, but it was actually Joe Louis. Everyone's got a plan until they get hit. You know, it's old school versus new school. It's a guy with like freaky timing and kind of like Anderson Silva type angles, and you know, so it's hard when you're like a tough fighter and you're standing and you're moving in with conventional shit. It's why Tyson dominated, because you know, he had that TikTok, no one saw it. They'd punch at his head and he was doing this, wham, and he had that shovel hook to the kidney. And nobody knows. So there's a couple of guys in the UFC that are emerging through evolving their own styles and angles. You know, so you got freaky genetics, excellent timing, and it's a different confidence. It's a different confidence. But you know, like you and I could fight, and people go, "I'm betting on Tony because he's been doing stuff for 30 years."
That's unlikely, though. I mean, seriously, let's be honest.
They would bet on me, right? Or that we'd have a fight. So anyone can get hit, and if you get hit at a certain level, it changes things at a physiological level, at a neurological level.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's not like Vitor Belfort hasn't been hit and hit hard, but that one kick in like a second and a half, that's when he went down. It was like it had to register old school, like snail mail through his neurological system to his brain, and went, oh, that hurt. And down he went. And I don't know if that took his wind or it just hurt so fucking much that he was just like, I don't want to get hit again, so I'm lying down. It kind of looked like a voluntary, you know, dive to the canvas.
You never know. And some of these guys are so, you know, I've seen guys, I remember like when Tommy Hearns got crushed by Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, after the fight, you know, he's like unconscious, like hanging onto the ropes, and they stop the fight. And
afterwards, he's like, I'm ready to fight.
He was interviewed. He said, I don't know why they stopped it.
Right.
It's that fighter mindset. I can beat anybody and what have you. I don't know if you remember when De La Hoya got hit with that like a body shot. It was like a little quick body shot, and here's like a guy who's been through wars and wars and wars. Boom. Went down right away. So that, you know, there are parts of the body where you just get hit and then suddenly, you know, you just go, I can't even stand up anymore. Right. So,
well, it was heartbreaking. I wanted Vitor to win. I wanted him to be, you know, one of those guys from, I mean, he was one of the original UFC guys way back in the day when it wasn't an institution, way back when it was Kung Fu versus karate versus Muay Thai. You know, that was the original, you know, format. And now, I mean, obviously it's more viewers than boxing now.
I don't know if you know this. I was at the first UFC as a writer, cage side, interviewed Hoist Gracie after he won, and then I was actually doing color commentary. I had the role Joe Rogan had. He took over from me. I did this. I got invited in by SEG before the Fertittas bought it and turned it into something amazing. And I was there with Don Fry, Tank Abbott, that fight, UFC Ultimate, and and that was back like there. But here's what I told people, in my commentary backstage, I said, you can't be a specialist anymore. You've got to be truly a mixed martial artist. And the problem with some of the old guys is that they're beating up athletes. It's the most brutal sport. I CrossFit a ton, and CrossFit is insanely challenging. But I tell guys, just recently I was talking to a bunch of CrossFitters. I said the hardest thing you could ever do is MMA. The CrossFit would augment that for sure. But in CrossFit, I said, imagine if when you're deadlifting, a plate came up and smacked you in the head. There's something different when as hard as things are, when somebody's also punching you in the face and kicking legs, everything changes. So, immortal words of Lombardi, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And none of these guys are cowards, and no operator's a coward. But you get scared and you get tired, and it changes how you breathe. It changes your grip on your weapon. It changes how, you'll be up there and you're going, shit, what round it is. And you're going, dude, this hasn't even started. The butterflies in your stomach is like someone stuck a vacuum hose in your ass, and they're sucking out your insides, and you got butterflies.
So this is your home gym. I see a bunch of plates back there. I see a squat rack. I see a bunch of stuff. Are you doing anything with kettlebells or any of the stuff that Joe Rogan? Oh shit, you got all kinds of stuff in there.
So we have. This has more shit than most. It's got everything you need to do to CrossFit and train. I'm a big CrossFit proponent. In fact, we just launched CrossFit Defense after 6 years of being in the community. So we're offering if you said to me, hey, I'm going away, I'm backpacking through Afghanistan and India and Pakistan by myself for just a lark, just to find myself. And, what I want you to train me for a day. This would be that course. Everything that I would want you to know that wasn't complex motor skill or technique driven. I really believe that this pursuit of technique by most martial arts people is the single greatest hindrance to their spontaneity in a real fight. And we need to be looking at organic, natural, explosive movements that emerge quarter extremity from a primal gross motor survival place. And that's really what the spear system is about, is how do the instinct and desire, or the instinct and need of my survival system to push away danger. So there's this, like the language of noxious stimuli is what the medical profession talks about, is that we disengage from noxious stimuli. So this whole disengage from noxious stimuli, how do we sharpen that and turn that into a combative or a protective mechanism? And that's really, that's the core essence of what spear is about.
Now, I get it. You can train this, and you can get that message out there in a video series.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do it in a day. The video series is hours and hours and hours of distilled drills.
How long is the video series that's $199 on the Halo website in the Halo store? How many hours is that?
I'm gonna lie, and because I actually don't know. It's like I think it's at least 5 tapes, and 2 of them are full DVDs. That might have. I'd have to get back to you, but it's probably 10 hours, 12 hours.
So if it's 12 hours of you doing the physiology, the mechanics, the explosive extensor flinch response, that whole deal, and they can rewind it, they can replay it. It's years of training. Yeah,
and there's three again. There's 2 DVDs that are lecture, and then there's 3 DVDs that are specific to gunfighting, close quarter stuff, and the operator stuff. So it's the type of thing where it's like, here's a concept, here's a principle, this is the movement, this is the drill, this is the demo. So as you get kind of familiar with the movement, you can practice, like you said, rewind, play.
Very cool. Well, bring a couple of pallets of it to the summit when you come. And we've got it in the Halo store. It's in stock. And people can get it there at the halocorp.com and go to the Halo store and just buy it. It's right there in the shopping cart. It's $199. It's 5+ hours of Tony Blauer doing all of this stuff, and I think there's some modeling and some vacuuming going on there. So we're stoked to have that, Tony. And look, you're back in town for a couple weeks. Let's I'm going to cruise up to Encinitas, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to figure out what we're doing over Halloween. Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being spontaneous and chatting with us tonight. Welcome home. Get some sleep. Cheers. Thanks, Tony. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. I just want to make you aware of another way you can get a lot more granularity and detail about the topics that we discuss here on the Halocast, and that's from our magazine, The Harbinger. This goes out to local, state, federal law enforcement, military, and members of the intelligence community, and of course, listeners to the Halocast. If you want more information on how to sign up, go to our website, which is www.thehalocorp.com. Once you're on our homepage, click Harbinger, and there you can see about a year's worth of archived episodes and issues that include a lot of the same subject matter that we cover here on Halocast. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.